Hi, everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Got something a little bit different for you today. I wanted you to see this or bring your attention to this. It's a very old demo from Valve. It was released with the HTC Vive. It's called The Lab. But I recently showed some friends who'd never seen VR before this demo, and I still think it's probably the best demo out there, especially if you've got a PC of VR that exists today. And I wanted to show it because it highlights some of the things which I think are going to come up when people start buying the Apple Vision devices and getting into this technology a bit more. So I thought it's worth showing this again. So I'm going to hit play. I'm in Steam VR on an Oculus device. So hopefully this works. Yeah, so you can see it's made by Valve. Valve have make really good software, and they put a lot of love into making this application. So you've got this kind of spooky room full of Valve handles. I'm just going to adjust the desktop recording volume. So there is an introduction which kind of teaches you how to use your hand controllers. I'm not going to cover that in this video, but as you can see, you've got these super detailed hands. And if I touch the buttons on the Oculus Touch controller, you can see that the hands are moving there. We've got this nice animation. They're absolutely fantastic mechanical hands. And people immediately learn, oh, I'm in this space. I have hands. I have agency. I'm going to press this button. The introduction really teaches you the basics, but the lab itself, as you can see here, is an application where you have a variety of different experiences. One of the things you've got in this is this amazing dog down here. It's actually using some form of AI. So you can see it reacts to your hands, and if you tickle it, it does different things. So that's a very old sort of form of AI, which is in here, and people really like it. Just the simple fact that it reacts to you. So you've got something in here that shows you're not in this world alone. I'm going to teleport over here. I'm going to stand up, actually. It's a bit easier to do this demo. It's all designed for standing. And you've got this whiteboard people go up to. You get haptic feedback when you touch it. So you sort of realize you're in this world, this virtual world that you're looking through, this slightly restricted kind of pair of binoculars, if you like, or this kind of swimming mask field of view, which is what the VR headset gives you. But you can move around in here and you've got full agency with your hands. So the first thing people do is they pick up the pen and see if they can draw things. Interestingly enough, I tried this with virtual desktop before and the tracking was significantly worse. So this is just using the Oculus OpenXR runtime. But people can see here that you can interact with the world, and whiteboards were a thing back in 2016. You've got a variety of different experiences here. I'll take you through two of the ones which for me are the most relevant. So this one here blew my mind. It basically allows you to go to different places in the world. So as you can see here, people learn interaction pretty quick. So you reach out your hand, you can grab things, and then you can plug that in. It does help you. As you can see there, it changes the sphere. And then the other thing that Valve were very good at was teaching you this concept of I'm in a virtual world just now, which is very computer generated, but I can move from virtual world to virtual world, right, seamlessly. Sounds like the metaverse, right? Well, no coincidence. And this is what a lot of the people involved in early VR were aware of, that I can be here in the lab, I can grab the sphere, and within a couple of seconds, I can be in a completely different digital experience. So sorry about the head movement there. I'll try to move more smoothly. So here I am. My little dog is with me again. And I've actually got some sticks. So this dog actually is doing a little trick. There you go fetch. So you can see here some of the programming that they put into this was very clever for back in the day. It teaches you that you can interact and you can bend and move around in the world in VR. And that's what my friend who tried this for the first time learned, is that, oh, I can move around this rock. I can see around the rock onto that side just by moving. Or if I crouch down here, for example, then I'm able to pat this little dog. And the haptics that come with it that makes it feel almost like something's there, because I'm getting a little vibration in my controllers as I do that. The world as you can see here, looks very realistic, and that's because Valve have done something very clever. So they've scanned a small part of this mountain, um, and everything that's in my foreground here, so this peak up here, is scanned, and they've created a 3D model of it, and they've placed photographic textures onto that 3D model. So that's why we can see the lichen and the different plants there, in a very realistic way. And then they've been very clever, because this whole world isn't a 3D model, although it can be these days in Microsoft Flight Simulator, for example. But what we see in the background there is really just a panoramic high resolution photograph. They've actually layered that. So I've got a little bit of this parallax effect with this small peak in front of us and what's in the background. There's birds, which are computer generated, of course. And the whole thing makes you feel like you're here, because especially with room scale tracking, which Vive was so famous for, you could walk around. And as you can see, I've only got a few meters here in my home office, but I can walk to the edge and I can now see down over the edge of that. Of course, I can teleport, and then I can see that my perspective completely changes here. There's a few spots you can move around to really explore this space. And for me, when I saw this back in 2016 or 17, I can't remember now, basically this was like a game changer. This is something that made me realize that I can be in different places in the world, but virtually. So I could effectively be in this space and experience what it's like. I was dreaming of the ability to, in real time, to scan this space and to just teleport into this space in real time and see the people who are in this space at the time, as if they were filming it with a holographic camera. Now, in 2016-17, that wasn't possible. You could take a few hundred photographs of this and turn it into a 3D model by doing some post-processing. But if you look at the Apple Vision Pro, you can see that there's scanning cameras on the device, there's LiDAR on the device, and in theory, you could scan a room, do a 2 or 3 second scan, or maybe let's say a 30-second scan, and then allow other people to be in that space with you. And this is what blew my mind when I realized that, well, with multiplayer, I could just be here with other people in, of course, in avatar form. So this is the fun bit. Everybody comes to the edge here and pretty much tries to walk off it to test the limits of the computer. A lot of people fall over, but what you can do is get down and kind of lie on the edge here and get that effect of being somewhere that, for me in real life, I would definitely not be able to come this close. You do feel the void. You do feel that this is, a huge drop. And in the beginning, that's a very disconcerting feeling. I'm very used to VR, so I'm very much able to perceive my current physical environment, which is my home office, at the same time as the environment which I'm in here digitally. So let's go back to the lab. The next demo I want to show you, it may crash. It seems to use a lot of resources. Sorry, not the next demo. I'll show you this first. So this table here has a few knickknacks on it. And usually people like to come here and they want to see what they can do. So they realize they can pick things up. And in some cases they can interact. So I can't remember the buttons. Yeah, like this. So here we go. We can make balloons. And there's physics here. So you can see that they float up. You can change the color of them with that dial. Give me little tiny ones that just go pew, 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 pew. So Valve, added all of these kind of fun things into the mix here. So sticks, of course, and physics. There's a little bit of haptics, so people can imagine what kind of things you can do. And of course, if you've got physics and you've got objects and you've got multiple people, you can do things together in the virtual world. And this is where people started to imagine, oh, I could control a robot on the other side of the world with 5G. But as you can see here, just having physics in a game engine allows you to do all sorts of fun things in the world. So you have agency in this world. You're not just here as an observer like we are with Zoom calls and these kind of things. So this is the little music ball. Let's roll it over there. Oops. Yeah. So this demonstration over here is very heavy. Let's see if it crashes, and it might switch. At least when I was using virtual desktop, yeah. So you see there, it switches to a smaller view. I'm going to leave it like that because this has been very crashy. So sorry about the resolution of that you're not getting the full thing. So we're in this kind of space here. There's a bit of a container door here, some kind of robots. The detail is very impressive in here. So we can see, read all of this text perfectly. And there's this kind of detailed, this tape recorder, which is playing what I hear just now. Everything is very, very, very detailed here. We have to charge our controllers in here and then press the button. Again, over here, a panel with a huge amount of information. The text is extra large in this because the resolution of the first HTC Vive, wasn't good enough to read text unless the resolution was bumped up a bit. On the Quest 2, I can read that text there if it wasn't gobbledygook, but I can certainly read much smaller text here. So aperture, science, and I think it gets kind of blurry there. But with the Quest 2, and of course with the Apple Pro, Vision Pro, you can read basically the same text that you'll be able to read with a human eye in the real world. So this is teaching us how interaction, so that we can grab things. All right. And there's some funny narrative. Then the best bit. And this is teaching about scale. So I can move my head in here and see this interaction by moving in closely, or I can move away and see this small scale thing happening here. It was very funny from Valve. So the next part is usually where we get the crash. So this mechanism for this door is a complex mechanism. So you see I'm pulling down there, turning that wheel, it's lifting up that and then rotating it. And that is a great example of something you could teach people how to use by doing this kind of thing. You can see here there's a robot who's been waiting outside. Another robot, dirty waiting room through there. Kind of a horrible, a pretty horrible room. Even the floor tile, I can see there in 3D that it's sticking up. You probably won't see that on a 2D screen. So this part's very relevant to what I think is going to start developing even more now that Apple are in the game. We can see an example of this robot. We've got to fix it, and it's actually telling us what to do. So it's showing you need to pull something that basically explodes this robot into the shape there of the augmented reality or what's been projected out of the robot. So we go here, and we have to go. If I let go, it goes back together, and you yank it out, and it goes into place. The detail here is stunning. So again, this is all 3D modeling. You can see cooling fins here, danger explosives. I can read all of this text perfectly. You can see here it's expanding out into a kind of exploded view, so even the nuts and bolts come out. And this is an example of how augmented reality can be used to help people in the physical world to understand things, or how you could do some kind of training in virtual reality. And as you see here, you get all of this stuff expanding out as you twist around there. I'm hitting my monitor. But this is super impressive when I started to see this. It's giving me a timer saying that I need to fix it. As you can see there, the detail in all of these things is just amazing. I think it's going to explode. But it's an absolutely stunning example of this. So there we go. There's, I don't know, 150 pieces on the floor. Now we get a bit worried because we realize the floor can just open up underneath us. And it goes down a very long way. And this is why we can see why there was using quite a lot of graphics memory to do this demo. Oh. And this, of course, in virtual reality, this robot feels huge because you've got the two displays, so you get this sense of perspective which you don't get on a normal screen. So it's teaching about all these things that just make you, it puts you in awe because you were in this tiny little room before, and now you're in this huge factory that just it extends out, hundreds of meters into the distance. And what it's going to do is rebuild this room. So this is an excellent example of what a smart factory could feel like in virtual reality as well. And of course, if you want to explain to people how that works, they can move their perspective around and see how this could work. Our wall panels appear magically. And now you feel as if you're in a room. Again, the human brain is tricked. We have no idea of what's in the background, and the illusion of being in that space is very, very strong. Right, so I'm going to turn around. I just want to see. All right, so you're now seeing back to full screen. There's so many good demos in here. I'll just show you this one, and then we'll end the video. So this is, again, you teleport into another world. So I think I mentioned it before. This idea of metaverse was very present in Valve's original demo. So this one again is teaching about scale and interaction. So I'm in a room here, curtain around it. Of course, your natural curiosity makes you want to go up closer. And we see these little tiny guys here, this tiny little world. And you can teleport and change your scale. So this was a great thing to learn, that you can change your scale. You've got this bow and arrow here. So it's a natural thing to do. The horde is threatening the castle. All right, go away. And what you discover pretty quickly is that you can aim quite well. You get points for these balloons as well. And you have to go and stop this horde from attacking. And what they're teaching you with this demonstration is that you can have these kind of interactions, which are not really possible through any other gaming platform. So there's no way to do a bow and arrow where you're actually pulling the arrows back like this in any other kind of gaming platform that I know of. So they're attacking. You get some balloons as a bonus. Oh, I want these balloons. They give you something. Can't remember what. Yeah, so amazing demos by Steam. They're showing the concept of a metaverse where you can move between digital experiences, spatial experiences, if you like, in the digital world, where you can interact with both AI. And in theory, of course, you could have other players in here if it supported multiplayer. This app happens not to. And yeah, an absolutely excellent demo of what's possible in VR. Really good 3D design work, really good UX work in terms of moving between these worlds and giving you increasingly more things to play with. Valve, absolute geniuses for this. So if you ever want to show somebody a really good demo of VR, the lab on Steam, and of course, if you need a VR headset for that, and you need a PC that will run this. I've just seen here, I've got some switches here. So what does this do? This is just doing a slightly more comfortable VR, a teleport experience. So yeah, that's the lab on Steam. Check it out. You've got a good enough PC to run it, and you've got a VR headset. This is probably really one of the best experiences you can give people in the beginning. I think most people have forgotten about it by now, but it's free on Steam. And yeah, maybe we'll all have some fun just checking it out again. That's all for now. Thanks for your attention, and I'll see you in the next video.